Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mindset and Muscle podcast. I'm your host, Keshi, and today we're going to be talking about accountability. So, I also don't really have much of a script. I have some notes on this one, but I was going to talk about something else, and then I just kind of changed my mind. So, that happens. It's probably not going to be a very long episode. Maybe it's going to be a really short one, actually, but let's get right into it. So, first, what is accountability? That is owning up to your actions, owning up to your promises, owning up to your decisions, taking responsibility, kind of feeling in charge of that. Now, why is it so important? Why should we be accountable or hold ourselves accountable? For me, the most important thing about accountability is that it gives you a sense of control. When you hold yourself accountable, first of all, let's just say to your own actions, to your own decisions, it puts you in a position of control, because if you're responsible for something, it means you can take the steps to make changes if you're not satisfied with something. You're not helpless. I feel like a lot of times when I'm not accountable for something, or other people that I see that don't hold themselves accountable for anything, they kind of just want to take a step back and surrender, or kind of just pretend like they don't really know what's going on. They're not in this, like, nope, I'm going to take a step back. How back sorry. However, when you're in that case and you take a step back, you are so you feel helpless and not necessarily vulnerable, but you just feel like powerless, and like you're not in control of that thing. Like you can't really make changes. You're not in a position to be making changes, and nobody really wants to be in that position. You want to be in a position where you know you can take steps. Okay, something happened. Let's take steps to fix it. And if I take those steps, I'm going to be like one step closer to fixing it. But how does that start? It starts with being accountable. So once you are accountable, then you say, okay, now what? And that click, that kind of like a dial turns, and you're like, now what? For example, if you keep yourself accountable, or you hold yourself accountable in your fitness journey, then when you're not taking the right steps, when you've been eating out 4 times a week and not going to the gym and not getting proper sleep and all of this, you have nobody else to blame. And what happens when you have nobody else to blame? And I need to preface that this is not about blaming and like blame shift, but I do see kind of the nuance of some people are always people who are always blaming other people or the environment or the situation or something. They don't hold themselves accountable about anything. Like I do see this discrepancy. So like it's really on the opposite side. And people who hold themselves accountable for a lot of things in their life, they really take ownership of whatever is happening. They don't tend to blame other people or the circumstances or things like that most of the time, especially for little things. So yeah, when you're kind of blaming other people or your situation, oh yeah, but um, so I there was no food at home, or yeah, I was super tired, or just finding an excuse or blaming something, or again blaming the environment. You are you seeing that person speaking as if they are in a position of control? No, it's kind of like they're just going with the flow. Or about, oh, what about your side hustle? Or even you were gonna change jobs because you hate it there. Mm, yeah, but like now you know that person is not taking the steps to find a different job that they like. They're not taking accountability for their situation. They're just kind of leaving it in somebody else's hands, or in whatever hands that's not theirs. However, on the when you flip the script, or flip the switch, whatever it is, when you flip everything and you start taking ownership of that and being like, again, this is my life, and this was my decision. Me eating out 4 times a week and not sleeping properly and not going to the gym, that was my decision. Or whether or not it was my responsibility. Then you can say, okay, now what? Like my actions basically led to this outcome, what outcome do I want, and what are the next steps to move towards that. So I feel like people who are accountable, they are a lot more likely to take action, good steps, good type of action towards their goal, and that's going to bring them closer to their goal. And they're also more likely to achieve a lot more because, again, they're not wasting a lot of time just kind of making excuses and blaming again the environment or other people or things like that. Also, when you hold yourself accountable for things, people trust you more because you're not gonna kind of like, what is the expression? Like, yeah, I can't really remember the expression, but whatever it is, you're not basically gonna do them dirty because if something happens, you're not immediately going to blame them. For example, if you're working on a group project and something goes wrong or there's a mistake or something, you're not immediately going to blame all your coworkers or your teammates. Whereas if you're somebody who's known to not be taking responsibility, taking ownership for anything, those people know that you're probably going to find an excuse, or like if it was like kind of like your fault in that, you're probably going to find an excuse as to why this had to happen and there was no other option. Or if it was somebody else's mistake, you might be very quick to kind of judge or throw them under the bus, basically. Whereas if you are somebody who takes responsibility when something happens, people can trust you more because if you made a mistake, you will own up to it. I think of it in like two different ways. Like people who don't take accountability for what they do, for their decisions, they're very quick to push somebody forward if it's somebody else's mistake, but if it's their mistake, they're just going to be quiet. On the other hand, I feel like people who take ownership of everything in their life, and I'm not saying you have to always be like, okay, well, I did that wrong and everybody else is perfect. I always just make mistakes and nobody else do. That's not what I mean. But those people are more likely to, when they do something wrong, to be like, oh, well, that was my fault. Or if something just, yeah, if for example at work you like something was missed, you're more likely to be like, oh, well, that was my bad. Whereas if it was somebody else's mistake, you're less likely, or those people are less likely to say that was that person's fault. They would just be quiet. And I think that builds a lot of trust. And again, I'm not about making people like you or things like that, but I think it's still important to build relationships. Um, and being the best, then that makes you be the best version of yourself. If, of course, like people should be able to trust you, or that's kind of terrible if nobody is trusting you. Maybe you should work on yourself. But yeah, so like that's another reason why accountability is really important. And then when you actually achieve those goals, just I don't know, that just feels better and feels great because you know that you took the steps and you made it happen. Again, it's about this control in all your decisions and all of what you do. I would say it also builds confidence a lot more because you're so true to yourself when you take accountability for, again, your decisions, your actions, and things like this. Now, how do you become more accountable? Well, it's really in the mindset, I would say, but here's a few things you can do. One, you can start by being more aware, I would say. Before you have the urge that comes automatically to just say, oh, that happened because, and then insert excuse or insert like situation or something. Like if somebody gives you feedback or some criticism, before you're so quick to just kind of like defend your position, just take a second sometimes. And what it might even feel like or look like is you not even saying something at that point, or just being like, oh, like somebody told you about a mistake you did. You're like, oh, yeah, I did do that. So both kind of internally and externally acknowledging that maybe you made a decision that wasn't the right one at that point. basically just owning up to your actions and your decisions. So you start by being aware, and then every day try to find something that you're taking accountability, you're taking responsibility for, like a little bit more. Maybe reassess what's going on in your life and find ways in which you can be more accountable or take more ownership of your life. For example, you can look at your fitness goals again and then kind of assess where it is. Be very aware of how it was your decisions which led you to this outcome and how to proceed from here. And then also, I would say have goals and share it with people. You don't have to share all your goals. I know some people prefer to kind of work hard in silence and let their success be their noise, and that's totally fine too. But have some things that you're working on that you share, because then, for example, if it's your fitness journey again, that will like help you or allow you to stay accountable. Or those people actually will keep you accountable for that decision. Because sometimes if you already told somebody, like I already told everybody I started a podcast, I'm tired today, but I can't really just decide to stop it because like I feel like I'm held accountable by an external source, if that makes sense. So even if you need that external source to help you at first, but let it be something that you can hold yourself accountable for every decision you make in your life. And again, like this is something that I'm still working on. That is something we work on every day, I would say. But even just one thing during the day, if you can shift it from feeling like you have no say, like your hands are like off the table or they like you're not in that game at all, to hey, this is my life, this was my decision, or this is going to be my decision, and I'm gonna again hold yourself accountable to your actions and your decisions and your promises. That's gonna make you progress and stay true to yourself too, and to your commitments, like those help as well. Like if you say you're going to do something or you make a commitment with somebody and basically like once you make a commitment with somebody or once you make a commitment to yourself, don't just go back on those are also going to help you. Well, that is also going to help you. So I kind of just want to have a quick summary. It was a short episode, but basically being accountable is super important, and some ways to be more accountable, or actually why it's important. It does boost your confidence. It makes you more likely to take action towards things that actually matter. It makes other people trust you more. It builds that trust, allows you to build relationships better and like more and deeper, mostly relationships, when people know that you're somebody who takes responsibility. And again, like everybody loves somebody who takes responsibility. That's a sign of a good leader, especially if you want to be a leader. I feel like everybody should be a leader in their life. But if you want to be a leader for more people, maybe than just a small group. Like what I mean by everybody should be a leader, like you should be a leader for yourself at first, and then maybe a small group. Maybe you're a leader at home, but then maybe you want to be a leader for more people. And that's like, imagine if your boss or your manager or something just never acknowledged when they did something wrong. If they do something wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. But then if yeah, so like imagine how, I guess, annoying but also bad that is in terms of leadership. So yeah, again, I kind of went on a tangent and small tangent in that summary aspect of it, but yeah, that is my little spiel about accountability. I just think it's very important. So make sure you try to incorporate a little bit more every day. And yeah, I really believe that that will set you up for success. Once again, if you liked this episode, please give me a 5-star review. And if you want to work with me for nutrition coaching, my link is in the show notes. Thank you very much for watching or listening. If you're on Spotify or YouTube, I love you all so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.